How to avoid getting taken advantage of in business, even if you're nice. So maybe you sort of go by the old golden rule. And so as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you want to do right by people. And you expect that most people are good and will do right by you. So fair is fair. If you treat people well, automatically most people will treat you well in return. And while that's a great, heartwarming thought, the reality of it is there are many different types of entrepreneurs and business owners. And I know for me, I've always tried to do the right thing and always tried to be in a situation where I don't mind giving first and getting later. But, sometimes there are situations in business where it's basically like a partnership, or it's basically like an unwritten rule where if I do this for you, you do this for me. And one big example of this is in affiliate marketing. So in affiliate marketing, generally affiliates, if they're product creators also, they'll promote for other product creators as an affiliate. And the expectation is those affiliates in return will promote their stuff. And so it's interesting because what happens is some people will go based on relationship. So if I have a good relationship with you, then if I have a product, then you'll promote it for me. And, that's great, right? And that's hopefully the way most business should work. Some people will take all the promotions you'll give. And then when you have something that you need them to promote, they're too busy, they're on vacation, they've got other things to do, they're doing internal promotions, whatever. And so it's really tricky sometimes to draw the balance because we don't want to be cynical and we don't want to be negative and we don't want to expect people to be so, self-consumed that they aren't going to reciprocate or they aren't going to help us or they aren't going to meet us halfway or meet their end of the bargain, right? At the same time, we don't want to be taken advantage of. And so while we want to be nice and we want to be able to go into, business negotiations and business relationships with the idea that it's sort of, 50-50, they're not always going to work out that way. Some people you're going to run into are very approachable and some are gruff, and difficult to talk to. Some will always try to help you no matter what. Some who don't really care. And some, who won't take a dollar if it isn't socially responsible. And others who would sell a relative if it meant they could make an extra buck. And so, it's really interesting because in my industry, I've seen this play out time and time again in a very specific way in terms of the marketing. But, the reality of it is, the best way to approach business, and I found this actually in personal life as well, because it's, business and personal relationships are essentially the same in that it's a relationship business. So whether you're dealing with customers, whether you're dealing with suppliers, whether you're dealing with partners, whether you're dealing with friends, whether you're dealing with family members, right? The relationships might be different. But the reality of it is, it's not so much that the relationships are different, it's just that it's a different sort of venue or it's a different platform in terms of the way that we interact with each other and the way that we treat each other. And so the thing that I always focus on is, I try to look for win-win and I try to look for things that are mutually beneficial. So while I obviously would like to do better for myself and my business and all of that kind of stuff, I don't try to do it at the expense of other people. I try to do it in a way where we all win because I think that's best for everybody. Some people will not be that way. They'll be mercenary. They only care about themselves. And so no matter what you do for them, they'll continue to take it and they won't ever reciprocate. And so the strategy that I've found, because it's very difficult to know this in advance until you start to deal with people, but the best way that I've found to work this, where you can be yourself, where you can be, giving and all those other things, but not be a total pushover or get taken advantage of, is with what I call the law of reciprocity. So what I do when I go into every relationship is I give everyone a chance. I keep an open mind. I expect the best. And I don't judge somebody based on their reputation, but I am aware of it. So if there's a reputation out there, good or bad, I'm aware of it, but I don't judge them on that. And then what I do is enter whatever kind of relationship that I've got with them. And if they ultimately meet me halfway and they give as much as they take, then I keep the relationship going. If they don't, then I give them another chance. But if I feel as though it's completely one-sided and they're only interested in working with me or doing business when they win, regardless of whether I do, then I give them, a second chance. But if they're not going to do it, then basically what I do is I don't necessarily cut them off, but I reciprocate what I get back. So for example, let's say, just to put this in sort of numerical terms, let's say that I do something for somebody and that's my 100%. And then what I get back from them is basically 25%. So in whatever sort of venue it is, they're giving me something back. They're not completely ignoring me, but there's no way they're putting in the same level of effort that I did. They're giving me about 25% in effort back. Then what I do is I match that. The next time that I do business with them, I don't yell at them, I don't cause problems, I don't do any of these other things. But what I do is I will then give them 25%. Because what this does is this process will naturally sort and select for you. Sharks, the people that just want to get stuff from you and aren't interested in any kind of relationship, will ultimately leave because they'll realize they aren't going to get what they want. You aren't going to just give, even if they don't give anything back. The people that have the same wavelength you do about doing business will stick around, and you'll have those as long-term partnerships and long-term relationships. And then the ones that are sort of imbalanced will still exist, but now you'll feel fine about them because you aren't giving so much and getting so little in return. It's an even, equal relationship. And what I found is you kind of feel icky when you start to give a lot, and you don't get anything back. And you can feel the imbalance with that. And that's not a great place to be. And so then you start to feel resentful and negative and these other things. When you use the law of reciprocity and you give them back what you're getting, you feel good about it because you aren't imposed upon. You aren't taking advantage of anybody else and you aren't being imposed upon. So it's a great way to sort of navigate both personal and professional relationships by giving back what you get. And, you give everybody the benefit of the doubt and give them the chance up front and assume the best, but then mirror whatever you're getting with the law of reciprocity. That's a great way I've found that works really well both in business and personal life. So remember, no matter what you want out of your business and your life, don't compromise, optimize.